I used to think love had a look, a sound, a touch. Then I met her. She looked at me like I mattered, said I was her only one. I believed her, until I saw her with her real husband. And she looked at him the same way. The heat hit me the second I stepped off that plane in Bangkok, 70 degrees back in Ohio, wearing 2 jackets just to feel warm. Here, the air stuck to my skin like I'd walked into someone's mouth. Thick, wet, suffocating in a way that felt almost alive. A few nights ago, I got an email from a longtime viewer of this channel, someone who said he's been here since the very first story I ever shared. He wrote, "I've listened to every heartbreak you've told, but this time, it's mine you need to hear." At first, I didn't think much of it. I get messages like that sometimes. But something about the way he wrote those words made me stop scrolling. There was a heaviness behind them, like he'd been carrying the story around for years, unsure if anyone would believe it. I opened the message, and as I read, that familiar ache started to build in my chest. You know, that kind of ache, the one that feels part heartbreak, part recognition. His story wasn't just about love or betrayal. It was about being seen, then used, then discarded like you never mattered. And as much as I wanted to tell myself it was different from mine, it wasn't. It never really is. By the time I reached the end of his message, I just sat there quiet, staring at the screen. It's strange how pain can echo across oceans and still feel like it's yours. To everyone who's been part of this channel, who listens, comments, and comes back every time I share another confession, thank you. Truly, you don't just watch these stories, you carry them with me. You remind me that telling the truth, no matter how ugly it gets, still matters. So wherever you're watching from, drop a comment below. Tell me where you are, and if this story feels familiar. And if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and stay with us because this one cuts deep. Let me take you back to where it all started. I came to Pattaya because I heard it was cheap, warm, and full of people who didn't ask too many questions. After 2 divorces and a daughter who stopped returning my calls 3 years ago, that sounded about right. I wasn't looking for anything. Not really. Just wanted to sit somewhere that didn't remind me of everything I'd lost. Somewhere the silence didn't echo so loud. The taxi from Bangkok to Pattaya took 2 hours. The driver didn't speak much English, which suited me fine. I watched the countryside blur past, rice fields and ramshackle houses with rusty tin roofs, chickens wandering across dirt roads, kids waving at the car like we were a parade. It was so different from Ohio. So different from the empty house I left behind, the one that still smelled like my second wife's perfume even though she'd been gone for 2 years. I'd tried to wash it out of the curtains, the couch, the bedroom, but some ghosts don't leave just because you want them to. Pattaya hit me like a carnival. Neon lights everywhere, music blasting from every bar, girls in tight dresses standing outside trying to pull tourists in. "Hello, sexy man," they'd call out. "You want massage? You want drink?" I kept my head down and walked faster. This wasn't what I wanted. I'd read about quiet beaches, peaceful sunsets, cheap beer, and cheaper living. But Walking Street was chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. I found a small hotel off the main strip, paid for a month up front, and locked myself in the room. The air conditioner rattled like it was trying to shake itself off the wall. The bed was hard. The pillow smelled like cigarettes. But it was mine, for now. The first week, I barely left the hotel except to eat. I'd find small restaurants where I could point at pictures on the menu. Pad Thai, fried rice, chicken with basil. Everything tasted the same. After a while, I'd sit alone, watching Thai families laugh together, watching couples hold hands across the table. I felt invisible, like I was watching life through glass. At night, I'd lie in bed and listen to the city outside, the motorcycles, the music, the shouting. I'd think about calling my daughter. But what would I say? That I ran away? That I couldn't handle being alone in the house anymore? That I came halfway around the world to feel less lonely and ended up feeling even more invisible? The bar was small, tucked between a 7-Eleven and a tailor shop that never seemed to open. I'd been going there for about a week, nursing Singha beers and watching the ceiling fan spin like it was tired of its own job. Most of the girls there were loud, aggressive in that playful way that made me uncomfortable. They'd sit on your lap before you even said hello, ask for lady drinks, touch your arm like they meant it. I always said no. Politely, firmly. I wasn't that kind of guy. Never was. Even when I was younger, even when I was married, I never understood how men could pay for affection. It felt wrong, hollow, but I understood it now, the loneliness, the need to feel wanted, even if it was fake. I understood it, but I still couldn't do it. Then she walked in. I noticed her because she didn't walk toward me. She sat at the bar, ordered a Coke, and didn't look at anyone. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, simple white tank top, jeans that looked worn but clean, no heels, no makeup, that screamed for attention. She looked tired, real tired. Not the kind you fake for tips, the kind that comes from living. She caught me staring and smiled. Not the rehearsed kind, just a small, shy thing that made me look away first. My heart did something strange, something I didn't trust. "You American?" she asked, walking over. Her voice was soft, almost hard to hear over the music. "Yeah," I said. "Ohio." "Ohio," she repeated, her tongue struggling with the syllables. She smiled. Again, wider this time. "That cold place, yes? Very cold. You come here for warm?" I nodded. She sat down across from me without asking. No knee touching mine. No hand on my shoulder. Just sat there, sipping her Coke through a straw. I didn't know what to say. Small talk had never been my strong suit. After 30 years driving trucks, most of my conversations were with dispatch or gas station attendants. Short, transactional. This felt different. "You look sad," she said. I laughed, but it came out bitter. "That obvious? I see many farang here. You different. You not smile fake. You just quiet. Like you thinking too much. Maybe I got nothing to smile about." She tilted her head, studying me. "Then why you come here? Pattaya not for quiet man, Pattaya for party. For fun. For forget. Maybe that's the point. Maybe I want to forget." She nodded like she understood. Like she'd heard that before. We sat there for a while. She didn't ask for a drink, didn't ask for money, didn't ask me to buy her out of the bar. She just talked about the weather. About how hot it was during the day and how the rain came fast and left faster. About her aunt who raised her after her parents died. About how she used to work in a hotel laundry room before she came to the bar. She said she didn't like it much, the bar work, but it was better than nothing. Better than going back to her village, where there was nothing to do and no money to be made. "What your name?" she asked. "Edgar." "Edgar," she said slowly, like she was tasting it. "Strong name. Old name. Like cowboy." "I'm an old man." "No," she said, looking at my hands resting on the table. "You strong. I see. You work hard before, yes? You have working man hand. Truck driver. 30 years. Long time. You must see many place. Highways mostly. Truck stops. Parking lots. Not exactly sightseeing." She reached out and touched my knuckles. Not flirty. Just curious. Her fingers were small, cool against my skin. I pulled my hand back without thinking. Old habit. My second wife used to say I flinched whenever anyone touched me. Said I was emotionally unavailable. Maybe she was right. "Sorry," she said quickly, her face flushing. "I not mean make you uncomfortable." "It's fine," I muttered. But my heart was doing something strange, something I didn't trust, something I thought had died a long time ago. The bar closed at 2. She walked me outside. The street was still loud, motorbikes everywhere, girls calling out to tourists, stumbling down the sidewalk. The smell of fried food and garbage mixed together. She stood there in the noise, looking up at me. She was short, maybe 5 feet tall. I'm 6'1", and she had to crane her neck. "You come back tomorrow?" she asked. "Maybe. I hope you do. I like talk with you. You not boring. You not try touch me or say stupid thing. You just real." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. She smiled again, gave a small wave, and walked off into the crowd. I stood there for a full minute, watching her disappear. I told myself it didn't mean anything. She was a bar girl. This was her job. Be nice to the lonely farang, make him feel special, get him to come back and buy drinks. I knew the game. I wasn't stupid. But something about the way she looked at me felt different. Or maybe I just wanted it to be different. Maybe I was that desperate. I went back the next night. And the night after. She was always there, always sitting at the bar with her Coke, always smiling when I walked in like she'd been waiting. We'd talk for hours. She asked about my life. Not in that fake interested way, where you can tell someone's just waiting for their turn to talk. She actually listened. I told her about my ex-wives. About how the first one left because I was never home, always on the road, chasing paychecks and overtime. About how the second one left because after I retired, I was always home, and she realized she didn't actually like having me around. How she said I was too quiet, too closed off, too stuck in my ways. How she said living with me was like living with a ghost. Sound lonely, Nampuing said. That's when I learned her name. Nampuing. I couldn't pronounce it right at first. The tones were all wrong. She laughed every time I tried, but not in a mean way. In a way that made me want to keep trying. Just call me Pui, she said, easier for you. But I kept trying to say it right, Nampuing. She liked that. I could tell by the way her eyes softened when I said it. It was lonely, I said, still is. And now? Now I'm lonely in a different country. At least it's warm. She laughed. A real laugh. Not the forced kind I'd heard from the other girls. You funny. You not know you funny, but you are. I'm really not. You are. You say sad thing but you say it like joke. Like you laugh at yourself so nobody else can. I stared at her. Nobody had ever put it like that before. But she was right. That's exactly what I did. Armor made of sarcasm and self-deprecation. Keep everyone at arm's length. Keep yourself safe. You see too much. I said, I see you, she said, that different. One night, about 2 weeks after we met, she asked if I wanted to go somewhere quieter. My chest tightened. I knew what that meant. But when we got to my hotel room, she didn't immediately start undressing. She didn't ask for money up front. She just sat on the edge of the bed, looking around at the sparse room. My backpack in the corner, my shoes by the door. A half-empty bottle of water on the nightstand. You live here long time? She asked, month to month. Lonely room. I'm a lonely guy. She looked at me then. Really looked. Not at my wallet or my age or what I could give her. Just at me. You good man, Edgar. I can see. Why you alone? Because good doesn't matter if nobody wants to stay. She stood up and walked over to me. Put her hand on my shoulder. Her palm was warm through my shirt. I stay, she said, if you want. I wanted. God, I wanted. But I didn't touch her. Not yet. Didn't know if I was allowed to. Didn't know the rules of this game. She must have seen something in my face because she took my hand and placed it on her waist. It okay, she said. I want to be here. I not here because Bar tell me. I here because I like you. I didn't believe her, but I wanted to. So badly. She kissed me first, soft, tentative, like she was asking permission. I kissed her back. And then we were on the bed, and she was pulling my shirt over my head, and I was fumbling with her clothes like a teenager. It had been 4 years since I'd touched a woman. 4 years since anyone had touched me. I'd forgotten how much it hurt to remember what I'd been missing. Afterwards, we lay there in the dark. The air conditioner rattled. The street noise filtered through the thin walls. She put her head on my chest. I could feel her breathing. Slow, steady, real. You smell like home, she whispered. What's home smell like? Safe. I closed my eyes. For the first time since I'd landed in this country, I didn't feel like a ghost. We kept seeing each other, every day. Sometimes at the bar, but more often at my hotel or walking around the city. She showed me places tourists didn't go, little food stalls tucked in alleys where the aunties cooked pad krapao and tom yum on charcoal grills. She'd order for me, laughing when I couldn't handle the spice. You farang have baby tongue, she'd say. She took me to temples where the monks smiled when she bowed, where the incense smoke curled up toward golden Buddhas. She'd hold my arm when we walked. Not for show, just because. Like we were a real couple, I started giving her money. Not because she asked, she never asked. But I saw her shoes were falling apart, the sole flapping loose. Saw her phone screen was cracked, the glass spider web across her face when she took selfies. One day, she mentioned her aunt was sick, needed medicine for her blood pressure. I gave her 20,000 baht, she cried. Why you do this? She asked, staring at the bills in her hand. Because I want to. But I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your saying I know what you're not. I said, but you're something. and that's enough for me. She kissed me then, hard, desperate, like she was trying to prove something. When she pulled back, her eyes were red. I never meet man like you, she said. Good or bad? Good, too good. You make me feel like real person, not just body. Not just smile. Like I matter. You do matter. She shook her head. Not here. Here I just number, just girl who sit in bar and wait for man to choose. You first man who see me. Real me. I wanted to believe her. I wanted it so bad it hurt. And so I did. I believed. Because what else did I have? I'd come to Thailand to escape loneliness, and here was someone who made me feel less alone, even if it was an illusion, even if it was temporary. It was better than the silence. One morning, I woke up and she was already dressed, sitting by the window. The sun was coming through the blinds, cutting across her face in golden stripes. She looked like something from a painting. Beautiful in that way that makes your chest ache. I watched her for a while before she noticed. You awake? She said, smiling. Yeah, you okay? I thinking. About what? About you. About me. About what this is. My stomach dropped. Here it comes, I thought. She's done. She's leaving. She met some younger guy, some richer guy, someone who can give her more than a retired truck driver living in a cheap hotel. But instead, she walked over and sat on the bed next to me. I want stay with you, she said. Not just night, not just week, real stay. What do you mean? I mean live, together, like couple, like real boyfriend, girlfriend. I didn't know what to say. I'd been married twice and never heard anyone say it that gently. Like it was a question, not a demand. Like she actually cared what I thought. You sure? I asked. Yes, you good to me. You not shout, you not hit, you not make me feel small. You make me happy. I make you happy, yes. You do. Then we do. We find place. We live. Together. I take care of you. You take care of me. Like family. Family. The word hit me harder than it should have. I hadn't had family in years. My daughter, Sarah, stopped answering my calls after my second divorce, said she was tired of watching me make the same mistakes. Said she couldn't watch me be miserable anymore. I sent her birthday cards, Christmas cards, never heard back. And now here was this woman, this girl really, offering me something I thought was gone forever. Belonging. Okay, I said, let's do it. She smiled so wide, I could see all her teeth. She climbed on top of me, straddling my waist, and kissed me all over my face. My forehead, my nose, my cheeks, my chin. You make me so happy, she said. I promise I be good for you, I promise. We found a small apartment near the beach. 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, a balcony that faced the street where you could watch the motorbikes zip by and the vendors sell grilled squid and mango sticky rice. It wasn't much, but it was ours. Or so I thought. The landlord wanted the lease in her name. Easier. He said, you foreigner, she Thai. Government preferred Thai name on contract. Less paperwork, less problem. I didn't question it. Why would I? I signed where he told me to sign. Paid 6 months up front. 12,000 baht a month. Cheap by Western standards. A fortune by hers. She moved in the next day with a single bag. Clothes. A few toiletries. A small Buddha statue wrapped in newspaper. That was it. I asked her why she didn't have more stuff. I never have placed that mind before, she said, looking around the empty apartment. Always live with aunt. Always share room. Always share everything. Now I have place, with you. I buy new things. Make it ours. We bought everything together. Sheets, plates. A small TV that got about 10 channels. Half in Thai, half in English. She wanted a rice cooker. I didn't even know what that was, but I bought her the nicest one the store had. She hugged me in the middle of the aisle. An old Thai lady passing by smiled at us, said something in Thai. Nampoing responded, laughing. She say we look happy, Nampoing told me. She say you good man for take care young wife. I felt proud, stupid, I know, but I did. I bought her a ring a few weeks later. Nothing fancy. Just a simple gold band from a shop near the night market. It wasn't a proposal. Not officially. But it was a promise. I'm here. I'm staying. You matter to me. She opened the little velvet box and didn't say anything for a long time. Just stared at it. Then she started crying. Big, heaving sobs that shook her whole body. "What's wrong?" I asked, panicking. "You don't like it? I can get a different one." "No," she said, wiping her eyes. "It perfect. It beautiful. I just never think someone give me ring. Never think I deserve. You deserve everything." She put it on her finger and held her hand up to the light, watching the gold catch the sun. "It beautiful," she whispered. "You beautiful. You're beautiful," I corrected. "No, you. Inside. You beautiful inside." She wore it every single day. Never took it off. Not in the shower. Not when she cooked. Not when she slept. I noticed, and I loved her for it. Yeah, loved. I didn't say it out loud yet. Didn't know if it was too soon, too much, too desperate. But I felt it. Deep. Real. The kind of love that makes you stupid. But then things started to shift. Small things at first. She'd be on her phone a lot, texting fast, her thumbs flying over the screen, smiling at something I couldn't see. When I asked who it was, she'd say friend, and put it away. She started going out at night sometimes. "I need see my aunt," she'd say. "She need help with something." Or, "I meet friend from school. Girl talk. You not want come, you be bored." I didn't push. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. Because what's love without trust, right? That's what I told myself every time the doubt crept in. One night, I was sitting on the balcony, watching the street, when I saw her get off a motorbike. A young guy was driving, Thai, skinny, wearing a tank top, tattoos snaking up his arms. He said something to her and she laughed, touched his shoulder, leaned in close. Then he drove off. She came upstairs a minute later and kissed me like nothing happened. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Who?" "The guy on the motorbike." "Oh, cousin," she said, walking to the kitchen to get water. "He give me ride from aunt house. You never mentioned a cousin before." "I have many cousin. Why you ask?" "Just curious." She stared at me for a second, then smiled. "You jealous?" "No. You are. It cute." She kissed me again. "You my only one, Edgar. You know that. I not one other man. You enough for me." I wanted to believe her. But something in my chest felt tight, like a fist closing around my heart. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept thinking about the way she touched his shoulder, the way she laughed. It was the same laugh she gave me. The same easy, comfortable laugh, like they knew each other, really knew each other. A few days later, she said she had to go visit her aunt again. Maybe stay one night. She said, packing a small bag. "She very sick. I need help her with medicine, with food. She old. She need me." I gave her money for the hospital. 2,000 baht. She kissed my cheek and left. I sat in the apartment alone. The place felt huge without her. Empty. I turned on the TV but didn't watch it. Just stared at the wall, trying not to think. But I couldn't stop thinking, so I did something I'm not proud of. I followed her. Not right away. I waited an hour, long enough that she wouldn't suspect. Then I walked down to the street and got a tuk-tuk. I told the driver to take me to Walking Street, but really I just wanted to see if I could spot her. I felt pathetic, like one of those sad old guys you see in movies, chasing a woman half his age, desperate and delusional. But I couldn't help it. I had to know. I had to see. I found her at a small restaurant off the main road. Upscale. For Pattaya. White tablecloths. Candles flickering on the tables, couples everywhere. She was sitting across from the same guy, the cousin. He was feeding her something from his plate, and she was laughing, her hand on his across the table. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. Not a peck, not a friendly kiss. A real kiss, the kind that means something, the kind she gave me when we were alone. I didn't move. I just stood there on the street, partially hidden behind a lamppost, watching through the window like some kind of ghost. My chest hurt. My hands were shaking. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like the air had been sucked out of the world. I turned around and walked back to the tuk-tuk. The driver asked if I was okay. I didn't answer. He drove me home. I paid him, went upstairs. Sat on the couch in the dark, and I didn't cry. I just stared at the ring on my own finger, the one I bought myself years ago during my first marriage when I thought the symbol meant something. When I thought promises mattered. She came home the next morning, smiling. She smelled like perfume I didn't buy her, a different shampoo. She looked fresh, rested, happy. How your aunt? I asked, not looking at her. Better now. Thank you for money. She say thank you too. I nodded, didn't say anything else. She sat down next to me on the couch, put her hand on my knee. You okay? She asked. You look tired. Didn't sleep well. Why? Doesn't matter. She studied my face. I could feel her eyes on me, searching. Edgar, she said. Something wrong? Who is he? I said. My voice came out flat, dead. Her face didn't change. She didn't flinch, didn't gasp, didn't pretend she didn't know what I was talking about. Who? She asked, but her voice was different now. Cautious. The guy on the motorbike. The guy you had dinner with last night. She looked down. Her hand slipped off my knee. She folded her hands in her lap. She didn't cry, didn't yell, just sat there, quiet. Then she said it. My husband. The word hit me like a truck slamming into a wall at full speed. You're what? My husband. We marry young. For paper, for visa help, for family. It not love marriage, it just what you do. You're married. Yes. And you didn't think to tell me? She looked up. Her eyes were dry, calm, like she'd been expecting this, like she'd rehearsed it. I want to, many time, but I know you leave if I tell. I know you not understand. Understand what? That you lied to me. I not lie, I just not say. I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. That's the same thing, Nampwing. That's exactly the same thing. Edgar, please. I still love you. He just paper. He just, don't. I stood up. My legs felt weak, like they might give out. Don't say you love me. Don't use that word. But I do. I love you. I choose to be here. I choose you. You chose a lie. You chose to make me look like a fool. She stood up too. Her voice was quiet, measured, like she was trying to stay calm. I not make you fool. I try to make you happy. I try to be good for you. You happy with me, yes? You feel good when we together? That's not the point. Then what is point? Point is, I here. Point is, I stay with you. I cook for you. I sleep with you. I wear your ring. What more you want? I stared at her, at the ring on her finger, the one I gave her. I want you to have been honest, from the beginning. If I honest, you not want me. You walk away. Like everyone else. Maybe I should have. Her face crumpled, just for a second. Then she pulled it back together. Okay, she said. Okay, you want me go? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because part of me, the pathetic, lonely part, wanted to say, no. Stay. Let's pretend. Let's keep living the lie because the lie felt better than the truth. But I couldn't say it. I just stood there. She walked to the bedroom, came back with her bag, the same small bag she'd moved in with. She packed quickly. Clothes, toiletries, the Buddha statue. She left the ring on the table, didn't say anything, just set it down gently and walked to the door. I'm sorry, she said, her hand on the doorknob. I never want hurt you. I just want be happy, and you make me happy, for small time. Thank you for that. Then she left. The door clicked shut. I stood there for a long time. The apartment was silent. I picked up the ring and held it in my palm. It was still warm. I didn't leave the apartment for 3 days. I ordered food delivery. Stayed in bed, watched the ceiling fan spin. My phone buzzed a few times. Messages I didn't read. I felt like I was underwater. Like everything was muffled and distant and not quite real. On the 4th day, I forced myself to shower. To eat something that wasn't noodles from a foam container. To go outside. The sun was blinding. The heat oppressive. But I walked. I walked along the beach, past the tourists and the vendors, past the old men sitting with young Thai women on their laps. I used to judge those men. Now I understood them. We were all the same, all desperate, all looking for something we lost a long time ago. A week later, I went to see the landlord. I wanted to break the lease. Move somewhere else. Maybe leave Pattaya entirely. Go to Chiang Mai or Bangkok. Somewhere I wouldn't see her ghost on every street corner. The landlord, a middle-aged Thai man with a beer gut and a lazy eye, looked at me like I was stupid. You know she married, yes? He said. My chest tightened. I do now. Her husband come here too. When you sign lease. He wait outside. He see you. I think maybe you know. I think maybe you all have agreement. Agreement. You know, farang pay rent. Thai husband okay with it. Everybody happy. This normal here. I felt sick. You knew the whole time. He shrugged. Not my business. You want apartment, I rent. I not ask question about relationship. I nodded. Paid the penalty fee for breaking the lease early. 5,000 baht I'd never see again. Walked out. Everyone knew. The landlord. The neighbors. Probably the tuk-tuk drivers. Probably the bartender at the place we used to go. Everyone saw. Everyone knew. Except me. I was the only one blind enough to think it was real. I moved to a different hotel. Smaller. Cheaper. Farther from the beach. I stopped going to bars. Stopped going anywhere, really. I'd wake up, eat breakfast at a small cafe down the street, walk aimlessly for a few hours, come back, sleep. Repeat. My days blurred together. I lost track of time. Lost track of what day it was. My phone died and I didn't charge it for 2 days. When I finally did, there was a message from her. Sorry I hurt you. I still miss you sometime. I read it 3 times. Stared at her name on the screen. Then I deleted it. No reply. No anger. No explanation. Just silence. 2 weeks later, I was sitting at the cafe, drinking terrible coffee and watching people pass by, when an older British man sat down at my table. Mind if I join you? He asked. Place is packed. It wasn't packed. There were 3 empty tables. But I nodded anyway. He introduced himself as Rodney, retired accountant from Manchester. Been living in Pattaya for 5 years. You look like you could use some company, he said, or at least a better cup of coffee. This place is shite. I almost smiled. Then why do you come here? Cheap. And the owner's wife makes a decent bacon sarnie. He ordered one and looked at me. You all right, mate? You look like someone died. Something like that. He nodded knowingly. Let me guess. Thai girl. Is it that obvious? It's always a Thai girl, or a Filipina, or a Vietnamese, whatever. Same story, different accent. He sipped his coffee and made a face. Christ, this is awful. Anyway. What happened? I didn't want to talk about it. But the words came out anyway. I told him everything. About Nampuang. About the husband. About how stupid I felt. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. You're not the first, and you won't be the last, he said. Hell, I went through the same thing my first year here. Met a lovely girl. Thought she was different. Turned out she had a boyfriend, a kid, and a sick buffalo that needed surgery every other month. Sick buffalo. Classic. You'll learn. Sick buffalo, sick mother, sick aunt, broken motorbike, rent money, school fees. It's always something. He laughed, but it wasn't cruel, just tired. Look, mate, I'm not saying they're all liars. Some of them are good people stuck in bad situations, but this place, it chews up lonely farangs and spits them out. You have to go in with your eyes open. I thought mine were. Nobody's are, not at first. He finished his coffee. You staying in Pattaya? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Well, if you do, there's a group of us that meets here every Thursday. Expats, retirees. We just talk. Complain about the heat. Complain about the government. Complain about our ex-wives. It's not much, but it's better than drinking alone in your room. I nodded. Maybe I'll come. You should. We're all broken in our own way. Might as well be broken together. I did go. The following Thursday. There were 6 of them. Brits, Australians, 1 German, all over 60, all with stories like mine. We didn't talk about the girls much. Mostly we talked about football, about how expensive everything was getting, about visa rules and retirement funds. It felt normal. I didn't realize how much I needed normal. Over the next few weeks, I started to feel a little more human. I joined them every Thursday, started going to the gym, started reading again. Started sleeping through the night without waking up reaching for someone who wasn't in there. I still thought about her. Of course I did. But the thoughts were quieter now. Less sharp. More like old scars than open wounds. One night, about a month after she left, I was walking back to my hotel when I saw her. She was standing outside a bar with another older man. Tall. White hair. Australian accent. She was laughing at something he said, touching his arm the way she used to touch mine. She looked happy. She looked exactly the same. For a second our eyes met. She froze. I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, regret, maybe just surprise. I nodded slightly, just a small acknowledgement. Then I kept walking. I didn't look back. That night, I sat on my balcony and thought about everything. About how I'd come to Thailand looking for warmth and found something that felt like love. About how I'd ignored every red flag because I wanted so badly to believe I could be loved again. About how easy it was to confuse transaction with connection when you're desperate enough. And I was desperate. I could admit that now. I was so desperate to feel wanted that I'd built an entire fantasy around a woman I barely knew. But here's what I learned. She wasn't a monster. She wasn't evil. She was just surviving. In her world, in her situation, what she did made sense. Find a lonely farang, make him happy, get money for rent, for food, for family. Keep the Thai husband on the side because that's real life. That's the safety net. That's what happens when the farang leaves. And they always leave. Or they die. Or they run out of money. She was playing a game I didn't even know existed. And I walked right into it with my eyes closed, my heart open, and my wallet ready. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at her. Not at myself. Just tired. Tired of being angry. Tired of replaying every conversation, every touch, every I love you and wondering which parts were real. Maybe none of it was real. Maybe all of it was. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is that I felt something. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Even if it was built on lies. Even if it was temporary. I felt something. Rodney and I became close over the next few months. He had his own scars. His own stories. A Thai woman he'd lived with for 3 years who disappeared one day with his ATM card and 40,000 baht. He laughed when he told the story now, but I could see the hurt underneath. We all had that hurt. All of us sitting around that table every Thursday, drinking bad coffee and pretending we were fine. The trick, Rodney said one day, is to accept that you got played. Don't fight it. Don't try to rationalize it, just accept it. You got played. It happens. Learn from it and move on. That's it? Just move on? What else can you do? Track her down, demand your money back, demand an apology? She won't give it, and even if she does, it won't mean anything. She'll say sorry, and you'll still feel empty. So yeah, you move on. You stop looking for closure from the person who hurt you. You find it yourself. I thought about that a lot. Closure. I'd been waiting for it. Waiting for her to text me and explain. To say she was sorry. To say it meant something. But she wouldn't. And even if she did, Rodney was right. It wouldn't change anything. The only person who could give me closure was me. So I stopped waiting. I deleted her number, deleted her photos, deleted everything. I started focusing on myself. I joined a gym near the beach. Started lifting weights, something I hadn't done since my 20s. My body ached for the first few weeks, but it felt good. Felt like I was rebuilding something. I started reading again. Books I'd been meaning to read for years. I started cooking. Real cooking, not just instant noodles and fried rice. I bought a wok. Learned how to make pad krapao from a YouTube video. It wasn't as good as hers, but it was mine. I started talking to my daughter again. Or trying to. I sent her an email. Just a short one. I know I wasn't a good father. I know I let you down. But I'm trying to be better. I'm in Thailand. I'm figuring things out. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I didn't expect a response. But 3 days later she replied, I'm glad you're trying, Dad. That's all I ever wanted. It wasn't much, but it was something. I stayed in Pattaya for another 6 months. Not because I loved the city, but because I needed to prove to myself that I could. That I could exist in the place where I'd been broken and not fall apart. I made friends, real friends, Rodney, a German named Klaus who taught me how to play chess, an Australian named Terry who'd been married to a Thai woman for 20 years and actually made it work. It's possible, Terry told me, but you have to be smart. You have to see the red flags, and you have to be okay with the cultural differences. You can't come here expecting them to be Western women. They're not, and that's okay. But you have to know what you're getting into. I thought about dating again. There were plenty of women in Pattaya, plenty who would smile at me, touch my arm, ask if I wanted company. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The wound was still too fresh. And I didn't want to repeat the same mistake. I didn't want to fall for another fantasy. So I stayed single. I stayed alone. And slowly, I learned that alone didn't have to mean lonely. One day, about 8 months after Nampoing left, I was walking along the beach when I saw the restaurant. The one where I'd seen her with her husband. I'd been avoiding it, walking blocks out of my way to not pass by. But today I didn't. I walked right up to it, looked through the window. Different people sitting at the tables, different candles burning. She wasn't there. Of course she wasn't. She was probably with another farang, another Edgar. Another lonely old man who thought he'd found something real. And I didn't feel anything. No rage, no sadness, no jealousy. Just a strange kind of peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop fighting the truth. She was never mine. I just wanted her to be. I wanted so badly to matter to someone that I ignored every red flag, every inconsistency, every moment that whispered, "This isn't real." I chose the fantasy. And when it shattered, I blamed her. But the truth is, I built that fantasy. She just lived in it for a while. She played a role I gave her, and she played it well. I realized something that night. Love isn't about being right. It's about being honest. And we were never honest. Not really. She was pretending to be someone I needed, and I was pretending I didn't see through it. We were both playing roles, both lying to ourselves, and when the truth finally came out, we both lost. But maybe that's what had to happen. Maybe I needed to lose. Maybe I needed to hit bottom to realize I'd been living on my knees. I decided to leave Pattaya, not because I was running away, but because I was ready to move forward. I'd learned what I needed to learn. I'd healed what I could heal. The rest would come with time. I booked a ticket to Chiang Mai. I'd heard it was quieter up there, less neon, less noise, less ghosts. I didn't know what I'd find. Maybe nothing, maybe another version of the same mistake, but at least I'd be awake for it this time. At least I'd see it coming. The night before I left, I went back to the bar where we met. It was still there, same ceiling fan, same cheap beer, same girls sitting around, scrolling through their phones, waiting for the next customer. I sat down at the bar and ordered a singha. The bartender didn't recognize me. Why would she? I was just another face, just another farang passing through. I thought about that first night, how Nampoing had walked in and sat at this exact spot, how she'd smiled at me, how she'd said I looked sad, how she'd made me feel seen. And maybe, in that moment, it was real. Maybe she did see me. Maybe she did want to make me feel less alone. Or maybe it was always a game. Maybe. I'll never know. And maybe that's okay. I finished my beer, left a tip, walked out into the warm night air. The street was alive with music and laughter and the smell of grilled meat. I stood there for a moment, just taking it all in. This city, this crazy, broken, beautiful city that had chewed me up and spit me out. I didn't hate it. I couldn't. Because it had given me something. It had reminded me that I could still feel, that I wasn't dead inside, that love, even the fake kind, even the painful kind, was better than nothing. I went back to my hotel and packed my bags. I didn't have much, never did, just clothes and books and a few souvenirs I'd bought for no one. I sat on the bed and looked around the room. This room had seen me at my lowest, had seen me cry, had seen me broken, and now it was seeing me leave. Not defeated, just different, changed. I thought about Nampoing one last time. Wondered where she was, who she was with. If she ever thought about me, probably not. Probably I was just another name in a long list of names. Another old man who fell for her smile. Another transaction that ended when the money ran out. And that hurt. It still hurt, but it didn't destroy me, because I was more than that moment, more than that mistake. I was Edgar. 69 years old, retired truck driver from Ohio, two-time divorcee, bad father, lonely man, but also someone who could still love, someone who could still hope, someone who could still try. I left Pattaya the next morning. The bus ride to Chiang Mai took 12 hours. I watched the countryside roll by. Rice fields, mountains, small villages that looked frozen in time. I thought about my life, about all the wrong turns, all the bad decisions, all the people I'd hurt, and the people who'd hurt me. And I thought about forgiveness, not just forgiving her, Forgiving myself, for being naive, for being desperate, for being human. Chiang Mai was different, quieter, greener. The air was cooler, the people smiled but didn't sell. I found a small apartment near the old city. One room, a kitchen, a balcony that overlooked a temple. I could hear the monks chanting in the morning. It was peaceful. It was exactly what I needed. I started over. Again. I got into a routine: morning coffee, walk around the moat, lunch at a small restaurant where the owner knew my name, afternoon at a cafe, reading or writing in a journal I'd started keeping, dinner alone, but not lonely. I made friends slowly. An American woman named Linda who taught English. A retired Thai professor named Somchai who spoke perfect English and loved talking about history. A French couple who ran a bakery and made the best croissants I'd ever tasted. Life became simple, predictable, safe, and for a while that was enough. But sometimes, late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd think about her. About the way she looked at me that first night. About the way she said my name. About the way she made me feel like I mattered, and I'd wonder if any of it was real. If even a small part of it was real. I'll never know. And I've made peace with that. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I survived. I came to Thailand broken and desperate, and I left stronger. Not healed. Not whole. But stronger. And that's something. That's more than I had before. I don't regret meeting her. I don't regret loving her. Because even though it hurt, even though it was built on lies, it reminded me that I was still alive, still capable of feeling, still capable of hoping. And hope, even false hope, is better than the emptiness I felt before. So here I am, 69 years old, living in Chiang Mai, single, childless, starting over for the third time in my life. I don't know what comes next. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Maybe I'll meet someone real. Maybe I'll spend the rest of my life alone. Either way, I'll be okay. Because I learned something in Pattaya. I learned that I don't need someone else to make me whole. I just need to stop running from myself. She said I was her only one. And for a while, I believed her. But the truth is simpler and sadder than that. I was never her only one. I was just the one who stayed long enough to find out. And now, finally, I'm my own only one. And that has to be enough. Because it's all I have. It's all any of us really have. I still make 2 cups of coffee sometimes. Force of habit. I'll realize halfway through and pour the second one down the sink. I still look up when I hear a motorbike outside. Still think I see her in the crowd sometimes. But it gets easier. The rituals fade, the ghost gets quieter. And one day, maybe soon, maybe years from now, I'll make 1 cup of coffee. And I won't even notice.